So I was on Facebook Marketplace the other day, just looking through the deals, and I happened to come across this old girl right here. The only problem was she was sitting halfway across the country in a place called Colorado. More specifically, Canyon City, Colorado. But since the 3 pictures and 8-word description were enough to convince me that I wanted to buy this truck, I made the most logical decision I'd ever made and hopped on a one-way flight out to where she was sitting to go pick her up. Now by the time I got there and finally got to check out the truck, it was already completely dark out and I couldn't see much. But since I had already made one logical decision earlier that day, I figured I might as well go ahead and make another. So I just bought the truck anyway. The next morning I hopped in the cab and started my 1,700-mile journey back home. And through fighting a small overheating issue, barely having any headlights, and putting more oil in this thing in 72 hours than it's had in it in its entire life, I wound up making it back here to Pennsylvania. Which brings us to the start of today's video. On today's episode, we're going to take a look at this old Colorado K10, see how good or bad she is, go for a test drive, give her a bath, and then I'm going to give you guys some insight on some future plans I have for this thing, right here on the Crank 'em TV channel. So this old girl here is a 1983 Chevy K10, which means that she's a fur-by-fur unit, which is exactly what I wanted. And there's a few reasons I got this truck, but the main thing being that it is completely rust-free. Besides the bottoms of the doors a little bit, and in here, the truck has absolutely no rust on it. Being from Colorado, it's not too surprising because they don't really salt the roads that bad out there. But, I mean, just look at the bedside on this thing. I'll show you guys the rockers real quick because this is what really surprised me. Look how solid that is, folks. That is more solid than like all 6 of my marriages. So that's not saying too much, but it's saying something. It's pretty good. Even the cab corners on this thing, I mean, it's super solid, and down the side of the bed is pretty much the same way. There's a little bit of surface rust starting, or I should say bubbling starting right over here, but that's not too big of a deal. That could just be sanded and painted. Over here, there's some surface rust, and I know you southern guys might be saying, oh man, that's a lot of rust, but to us up here in Pennsylvania, this is still considered a rust-free truck. But the best part is, over here in the bed, you can see the guy was kind enough to leave not 1, but 2 open bottles of power steering fluid. I mean, that just sold me on the whole deal right there. So someone was using this thing to tow a 5th wheel camper or a trailer, which apparently is like a pretty common thing to do out west. They just hook up 5th wheels to everything, but it's a 1500 series truck. It's not even a 2500, so that kind of surprised me a little bit. And once you see the motor, it might surprise you even more. The tailgate over here is in okay shape. Not really. It's kind of dented up pretty bad, and you can see in there it's just all warped and whatnot, but I'm not too worried about that. I've seen them for sale quite a bit, so that's not of that much concern to me. The other side of the bed here is pretty much the same rust-wise as you can see, but there is a few dents in it going down the side here. I don't know how well you can pick them up on the camera. It's kind of right here. You can kind of see one there, and over here there's another. You can kind of see the indentation there a little bit, but I'm not too concerned about that because the main thing I wanted is for the truck to be rust-free, which it is. Oh, before I forget, let me show you guys the frame on this thing. So if you're from the north like I am, you're going to be pretty surprised. I cannot believe how absolutely clean it is underneath here. I mean, there's not, look at the bed supports. There's not even rust on the bed supports. There's like a little bit of surface rust, and that's it. Like the rear diff is spotless. Well, obviously it's leaking a little bit of oil. Like I said, when I got the truck, I really didn't check it out too well, but I had this thing up on a lift, and it is looking pretty good underneath here, as you can see. Even back here, I know they rot out sometimes back here, at least on the OBS Chevys, and both sides of it, I mean, it is just spotless. Don't mind the nest of wires back there. What's that up there? Oh, it's a connector. I might be using this thing to tow pretty soon, so you might see some of that on the channel, but just look how clean that is, guys. So now that you saw the frame, we'll move on to the rest of the truck here. There's a tiny little dent in the cab here. I don't know if you guys can notice that on the camera or see it. Maybe with a different lighting there, it might be a little better for you, but no, there's a pretty big dent here, guys. I actually don't know how this got here. It was like that when I bought the truck. I'm thinking that maybe when they were towing the 5th wheel with it, like they backed into it and just boom right there on the cab, because there's another little dent, or the whole side of the bed here has a few dents on it. The side of the door here is pretty much the same as the other side. I think they patched her up a little bit right here, but I'm not, like I said, I'm not too concerned about that. The main thing I care about is rust. Let's move on to the engine here, and I'll show you guys the powerhouse that fuels this monster. Now, the words no replacement for displacement do not apply here. I'll just say that. Ugh. She's got the little 250 inline 6, 4.1 liters of raw American power. Now, honestly, it's actually not as bad as people make them sound. It has the little 1-barrel monojet on there, so that's kind of cool. I've never had a vehicle with a 1-barrel carburetor on it before. So remember how I said this thing leaked like 80 gallons of oil on the trip here? Well, that is out of these little push rod covers right there. The gaskets on them are shot, and just to show you underneath the truck, well, Yeah, you can see that there. That's all for me. That's probably for me. And the truck was sitting right here, right next to the tripod. That's for me too. So she's a heavy drinker, to say the least. So besides the fact that this thing uses more oil than gas, it's actually a pretty good running motor. Now, it definitely needs a tune-up because I can just tell it's not running the best that it could be. And we're going to have some power upgrades coming for this, but that's going to be in the next video. So if you want to see that, just stick around and you'll get to see me work on this thing. It should be pretty fun. So I had to move the truck over because the sun was being annoying, but let's get to checking out the interior of this thing and then we'll go for a little ride in her. So this right here is the reason I drove 1,700 miles for this truck. And now before you say, oh, you're one of those people who only likes to drive manual, you think automatics suck. No, I don't. I just really wanted a 4-speed square body. I've always wanted one for as long as I can remember. It's been like a dream of mine to have one. And I saw this truck and I wasn't going to drive 1,700 miles for a truck that I did not completely love. So you can see her, she's got the 1-2-3 or low 2-3, that's the granny low gear. It's got 4-wheel drive. And the rest of the interior is in terrible shape, actually. The dash is cracked pretty bad, as you can see. There was mice living in there. I took the little vents out to clean it. The steering wheel has a whole bunch of the plastic on there rubbed off, and the floor mats aren't in too bad a shape. I mean, it's just a rubber mat, so that can be cleaned up, but the seat is totally destroyed. I mean, someone put a different seat in this thing. It had originally a blue vinyl seat, but that looks nice, doesn't it? And the gauges over here, we've got actually the gauge package in this thing, which is pretty cool because I'm pretty sure that was an option. Correct me if I'm wrong, but temp gauge doesn't work. It's always tacked out at 260. The oil pressure gauge, I'm hoping it doesn't work because it literally never goes past that there. It always reads at like half of 30, like it's 15. So I'm guessing it always reads at like 14 to 15 pounds of oil pressure, which is definitely not enough. The speedometer is 10 miles an hour faster than what I'm going. So when it says 65, I'm actually going 55. So now that I know that, it's not too bad. Fuel gauge actually works surprisingly, but the cool thing about this truck is right here. It's got dual gas tanks. I've only ever tried the driver's side one. I'm not sure if the passenger side gas tank works, so I'm going to try it, just not today. We'll do that in a future episode because I want to take her for a test drive to show you guys today and not get stuck. All right, guys, we got to get moving. We got to get some gas in this thing, and then we went to the car wash, like I said, because she's pretty dirty, so we're going to fill up with gas first. She should fire up. I just had her running, so beautiful. Look at that. First try, fires right up. Better than some of these new cars today. All right, so like I said, 4-speed with the granny low. We got to go in reverse first. That's a weird thing with the clutch where, I got to hold it down, and if I don't hold down for like 3 seconds before I shift, it grinds, but, and we're moving. A little bit of clutch noise there. That's okay. She does not like to go fast in reverse. That's okay. Everything's okay. It's just okay. Nothing matters. It's all okay. So, the granny low gear is really only if you're like pulling down houses or like towing something, but it's a good day to pull down some houses. We'll throw her in granny low and see what she does. Man, that's a crawler gear. Let's see if we can shift to first from it. Oh, we can. Beautiful. All right. And we're off. First gear, I'd say about up to like, I don't know, 10 miles an hour. Second gear, she's going pretty good. It's pretty fun to drive, even though some of these newer cars you might be thinking, oh, you know, they have like 5 or 6 gears, but 3 gears is all you need, guys. I've never had to go faster than 55 in my entire life. Oh, we got a person walking here. Hello, person. And she just cruises. We really need gas. I mean, we're about to run out, so I'm gonna go down to the gas station, we'll drop her in neutral, and going down a hill right here. When I'm out there, I'll be on a straighter stretch of road where I can get her up to speed and whatnot. And you'll probably like that a bit better. So we're about to pull out onto a straighter stretch here. We'll do a little bit of a full pull in her, if you know what I mean. See what this whole I6 can do. I send her horse. The second gear, son. Woo! That's full throttle right there, folks. Oh, and right down to third. She pulls pretty good. I probably shouldn't have done that because I haven't like done a tune-up at all of this truck or anything. She's fine. She's still running, so that means she's okay. She's doing pretty good though. Let's keep cruising. I forgot to go to the gas station. Oh well. If we run out, we're in town. It doesn't matter. What can you do? Remember how I said she has a little bit of an overheating issue? So, second gear was not the right choice for that application, apparently. So, we're in town right now in second gear, just cruising, and I'm not too worried, but I just don't want to see this motor blow up. At least not yet. Let's stop at the old hill first and get ourselves a full tank of premium gasoline. Oh, going in gear there, Holmes. There we go. Beautiful. That's close enough. Sometimes she has a little run-on issue. I think the idle's too high. Let's go into the hill and get some fuel. Well, time to find out what $20 in quarters looks like. Come on now, do this one-handed. Will you accept it? There you go. The feeding begins. Well guys, that's going to about do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed seeing this little bit of the truck over here. I got a whole bunch of parts coming in for this thing, so in the next episode, we're going to be turning it into the perfect, reliable daily driver. Now, if there's anything else you guys want to see me do to this thing, wheels, tires, suspension, maybe even a motor swap, drop it down in the comments below and I'll consider it. Because even though it is going to be my daily driver, I'm going to be driving it every day, I do like to have nice stuff, so you never know what can happen to this thing. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on the Crank 'Em TV channel.